Decoded.
Welcome back to Book Decoded, where we, crack open insightful reads and hand you the good stuff.
The ideas that really matter.
Exactly. And today, we're all about courage.
Specifically, how to be courageous when anxiety is breathing down your neck.
Yeah, and we're diving into Lauren Rose's Here You Are, Courageous.
Oh, okay.
Now, I know what you might be thinking.
Another anxiety book.
Another anxiety book, right. But trust me, Rose approaches it from a totally fresh angle.
Yeah, it's not your typical 10 steps to eliminate anxiety
At all.
kind of book. This one's about understanding anxiety, finding the courage to live a full life with anxiety, not in spite of it.
It's like she's saying, hey, anxiety is part of the club.
Right.
Let's figure out how to make it work for us, not against us.
Love that. And speaking of understanding anxiety, Rose's own journey is a great starting point.
Yeah?
At 23, she started experiencing these debilitating panic attacks.
Totally out of the blue.
Totally out of the blue. And despite being physically healthy, she got hit with a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder.
Can you imagine? You're young, healthy, and suddenly your own body feels like a threat.
It's a jarring experience, for sure. And it really highlights how anxiety isn't always a straightforward thing. Rose delves into the science behind it, reminding us that anxiety is actually a natural response.
It's our built-in alarm system, right?
It is, yeah.
Our ancestors needed it to avoid saber-toothed tigers and all that.
Exactly. The problem is with anxiety disorders, this alarm system goes haywire.
Yeah.
It's like having a smoke detector that goes off every time you make toast.
Okay, that's a great analogy. Walk us through what happens in our brains and bodies when that anxiety alarm goes off.
Well, you've got the sympathetic nervous system, which triggers the fight or flight response.
Right.
And then you have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is supposed to calm everything down.
It's like the gas pedal and the brakes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with anxiety disorders, it's like the brakes are failing. Your body gets flooded with hormones like cortisol, and you feel all those familiar symptoms. Racing heart, sweating, dizziness.
So it's not just a feeling in our heads. Anxiety really impacts our physical state.
Absolutely. And here's the kicker. Those physical sensations themselves can trigger more anxiety.
Like you start feeling anxious about being anxious.
Exactly.
No wonder it feels so overwhelming.
Precisely. And this is what Rose calls the disorder.
Right.
Not a defect in our system, but a disruption.
A disruption of that natural order.
Yeah.
That balance between the gas pedal and the brakes.
Right. It's like our system gets stuck in this loop of anxiety, and that's where things start to go wrong.
And those consequences can be pretty serious, right?
Yeah.
Rose talks about her own experiences with IBS, sleep problems, and this constant feeling of dread.
Yes. And these can really wear you down over time, both physically and mentally.
Yep.
To illustrate this, Rose uses a powerful analogy. She asks you to imagine holding a glass of water. If you hold it for a minute, it's no big deal. But what if you hold it for an hour, a day?
Yeah.
The weight of the glass doesn't change, but the longer you hold it, the heavier and more unbearable it feels.
Right.
And that's what chronic fear can be like. It's not just the intensity of the anxiety, but the duration that makes it so debilitating.
It's like carrying around this invisible weight.
Day after day.
Day after day. And what makes Rose's approach so relatable is that she doesn't shy away from talking about her own struggles with resistance.
Yeah.
It's like we all want to get rid of anxiety, but we also kind of resist facing it head on.
We avoid the things that trigger us. We procrastinate. We tell ourselves stories about why we can't change.
And Rose calls that defending our position.
Yeah.
Almost like a victim mentality.
But here's the important thing. She's not judging us for doing these things.
Right, because those avoidance tactics often stem from valid fears and experiences.
Exactly. But what she's saying is that clinging to those reasons can keep us trapped in the anxiety cycle.
It's like we're building a wall to keep fear out.
Right.
But we end up imprisoning ourselves inside with it.
And that's where the real work begins, recognizing those resistance patterns and starting to shift our perspective.
So how do we even begin to break free from this cycle? Because it's not like we can just flip a switch and turn off our anxiety, right?
It's not that simple, unfortunately. But Rose's book offers some really practical and insightful tools.
And I think that's what makes it so valuable.
Absolutely.
It's not just about understanding anxiety. It's about actually doing something about it.
Absolutely. And one of the key concepts she introduces is the idea of rewiring our subconscious.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. We repeat these anxious thoughts and behaviors over and over,
Right.
and they become ingrained in our subconscious.
It's like creating a well-worn path in the woods.
Yeah.
The more you walk it, the deeper it gets.
Exactly. So we start to identify as anxious people because anxiety has become our default setting.
So how do we create new paths, new ways of thinking and responding?
That's where Rose's own journey comes in.
Okay.
She started incorporating small, positive habits into her routine. Things like exercise and social interaction, even though they felt uncomfortable at first.
And this is where she introduces the concept of the curve of chaos. I'm really curious about that.
It's fascinating. Imagine you're trying something new, like going to a yoga class for the first time. You might feel awkward, self-conscious, even a little anxious.
Oh, yeah, I totally get that. The what if I make a fool of myself, anxiety.
Exactly, that
Yeah.
initial discomfort.
Yeah.
That's the curve of chaos. And what Rose emphasizes is the importance of pushing through that discomfort.
Because that's where the growth happens, right?
It is.
It's like a muscle you have to train.
Precisely. And it's not just about willpower. It's about understanding that resistance is a natural part of the process,
Okay.
not a sign that we should give up.
So instead of seeing that initial discomfort as a reason to stop, we should view it as a challenge to overcome.
Exactly. And this leads us to one of the most crucial shifts in perspective that Rose advocates for.
Okay.
Softening towards anxiety instead of waging war against it.
Softening towards it. That sounds almost counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Aren't we supposed to be fighting anxiety?
Right.
Trying to get rid of it?
Yeah, that's what we're often told. But Rose suggests a different approach.
Okay.
Instead of seeing anxiety as the enemy,
Okay.
she encourages us to view it as a part of us, something to be understood and accepted.
So it's not about defeating anxiety, but befriending it.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that anxiety is not our entire identity. It's a part of our experience, but it doesn't define us.
And that acceptance, that shift in perspective, is where we start to find real freedom, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And in the next part of the book, Rose takes us even deeper into this idea of befriending anxiety and finding safety within ourselves.
Can't wait to dive into that. But before we do, I want to ask you, what's resonated with you most so far? What's got you thinking?
For me, it's the analogy of the glass of water.
Uh-huh.
It's such a simple but powerful way to understand the impact of chronic fear. How about you?
I think what's really sticking with me is the idea of softening towards anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a total mindset shift, but it feels so liberating.
It does.
Instead of constantly battling those anxious thoughts and feelings, what if we try to understand them, to be curious about them? I think that's where the real transformation begins.
I agree. And you know, one of the most powerful things Rose explores is how to find safety and courage, not by fighting anxiety, but by reconnecting with our bodies.
It's interesting because when we're feeling those intense physical sensations of anxiety, our instinct is to disconnect, to try and escape.
Right, we want to numb ourselves, whether it's through distraction or even medication.
But Rose argues the true safety comes not from numbing, but from leaning into those sensations, from developing a sense of awareness.
It's like turning towards the storm instead of running away from it.
Which, let's be honest, sounds a little scary.
It can be,
Yeah.
for sure. But think about it this way. If you're constantly trying to suppress or avoid your anxiety, it's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater.
Eventually, it's going to pop back up.
With even more force.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rose actually talks about her own experiences with trying to cork herself with medication, only to find that it didn't truly address the root of her anxiety.
So if numbing isn't the answer, what is? How do we actually start to reconnect with our bodies in a way that feels safe?
Rose suggests practices like mindfulness and gentle movement.
Which makes sense because those are all about tuning into our physical sensations.
Right. It's about noticing the tightness in your chest,
Yeah.
the quickening of your breath without judgment or resistance.
So it's more about observation and reaction.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that Rose emphasizes movement not just for fitness, but as a way of releasing pent-up energy and emotions.
It's like our bodies have their own language.
Right.
And movement is a way for them to communicate with us.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
like we're giving our anxiety a healthy outlet, a way to express itself.
And speaking of outlets, Rose also highlights the importance of human connection in managing anxiety.
You know, we often feel so alone in our struggles,
Right.
but the truth is anxiety is incredibly common.
And just knowing that you're not alone can be incredibly validating.
Absolutely. Rose actually shares how she found solace and strength through online communities, connecting with people who understood her experience.
I think there's something really powerful about that shared experience. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Yeah,
Right.
and that realization can be so liberating.
It's like you're finally allowed to exhale.
Exactly.
Right.
And Rose doesn't just talk about the importance of finding community, she also encourages open communication within our existing relationships.
Whether it's romantic partnerships,
Yeah.
friendships, or family,
She emphasizes honesty, reciprocity, and being willing to show up for each other even when it's messy.
which requires a lot of vulnerability, right? It's about creating safe spaces where we can talk about our anxiety without shame or fear of judgment.
And that leads us to another beautiful concept that Rose explores: falling in love with yourself.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
It's about noticing and celebrating those moments of joy, self-love, and pleasure, however small.
So it's like intentionally shifting our focus from what's wrong to what's right, from what we lack to what we already possess.
Exactly. Rose encourages us to document those moments,
Oh.
to really savor them and make them a conscious part of our experience.
It's like training our brains to recognize and appreciate the good stuff.
And this all ties back to the idea of embracing our wholeness, which is really the core message of the book.
Right. It's about understanding that anxiety is a part of us, but it doesn't define us.
It's not a flaw to be fixed, but an aspect of our human experience.
And this is a message that really resonates in a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about self-improvement and striving for perfection.
Rose's book offers a much-needed alternative.
Yeah.
The invitation to embrace our perfectly imperfect selves.
That in that wholeness, we find not only acceptance, but also a deeper sense of courage and resilience.
We realize that we can live full and meaningful lives even with anxiety as a companion.
It's like we're shifting from battling anxiety to befriending it, to understanding it as part of our internal landscape.
And in that understanding, we open ourselves up to a whole new way of experiencing life.
One that's grounded in self-acceptance
And fueled by courage.
and fueled by courage. The book actually ends with a beautiful reminder from Louise Hay. In the vast infinity of life, all is perfect, whole, and complete. And so are you.
What a powerful affirmation.
It's like she's saying, hey, you're already enough, just as you are.
And I think that's a really important message to hear, especially for those of us who struggle with anxiety.
Absolutely. But beyond acceptance, Rose also encourages us to find our purpose, to make our mark on the world.
And she reminds us that this doesn't have to be some grand, extraordinary thing.
Right.
Right.
It can be anything that lights us up, anything that allows us to express our unique selves and connect with the world around us.
Rose's own journey is a testament to this. She found her purpose in writing and sharing her experiences and helping others who struggle with anxiety.
And through that vulnerability, she's created a community of support and empowerment, proving that our perceived weaknesses can actually become our greatest strengths.
It's a beautiful reminder that connection and authenticity are powerful antidotes to anxiety,
All right.
and that sharing our stories can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Here You Are Courageous, I want to leave you with a final thought. What small new habit can you introduce today to start rewiring your relationship with anxiety and create a more fulfilling life?
It doesn't have to be something grand or overwhelming. It could be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to practice mindfulness, to connect with your breath, or to engage in gentle movement.
Or it could be reaching out to a friend, joining a supportive community, or taking a step towards pursuing a passion that you've been putting off.
Whatever it is, remember that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward even when we're afraid.
Rose's book is a powerful reminder that we are all courageous in our own ways, and that we have the power to create lives that are full of meaning, purpose, and joy, even with anxiety as a companion.
So go out there and embrace your wholeness, your perfectly imperfect self, and see what amazing things unfold.